Hey guys, happy Wednesday, and to think there for a second. Today I want to talk to you about the 3 biggest mistakes that you might be making and why it's a big mistake to be making these mistakes. For those of you who don't know, my name is Mary. I am the host of the Leather Tamers Facebook group and the Leather Beast website. So I help beginners get started, lay a foundation for leather work, create really refined leather work with polished results, and yeah, just kind of lay it all out to kind of ease the trial and error. So today, let's talk about the big mistakes. And I don't want to talk about the big mistakes to be like, you're doing it all wrong and you suck. I want to tell you about the big mistakes because it's not really your fault. I mean, there's honestly, there's a lot of bad advice out there, and I see people kind of giving these pieces of advice. They're trying to be helpful, but there's a lot better ways to do things, and if you don't know, then you just kind of follow people's advice blindly, and then you probably find out later on that it wasn't really great advice to tell you to buy a pre-assembled toolkit or something like that. So just be aware of some of these things. Okay, let's jump into it. Number 1. Cutting corners. I see so many people cutting corners. They're doing things like omitting the finishing steps on their beautiful veg tan leather project that they just spent so many hours creating, and then they kind of stop short and they don't finish the edges. They don't dye the edges, they don't wax the edges, and I think this is a really big mistake because you're putting so much time and effort into it. What's another 20 minutes to go through the finishing steps? Or they're just leaving out some of the results, or they're leaving out some of the steps that you need to take to get those refined results. Like a lot of the initial steps where you're setting up your project, you're setting up your stitching guidelines, things like that. That's just kind of like cutting corners, and it doesn't really take too much more time to actually do it correctly. I feel like my mom or something, because I think she used to say something like that, like clean up after yourself, like in the bathroom. It doesn't take any more time to put the towel on the hook than it does to leave it on the floor. So just cutting corners is a big one. The second mistake is learning tricks to avoid getting the right tools or materials. I see this so often, and it's so interesting, the kind of advice that people give. And again, maybe they just don't know, or they're beginners themselves, but people advising new people to buy a pre-assembled toolkit off of Amazon. I just honestly think that's really poor advice, and because those tools that you get in those kits, they're really low quality, and you're also getting these like weird tools that you don't necessarily need. So it's better just to buy more quality tools and fewer of them. Or people that are creating their stitching marks using like a power drill or something like that, rather than just getting the pricking irons or the stitching chisels that do much more than just create the hole. They create the right shaped hole. They allow you to really line up your holes. They do this workaround using some sort of non-specific tool that it might, in the end, it gets the job done, but it's not resulting in really refined leather work, a really pretty project at the end. You're going to get a row of really uneven and shaky stitches. And the third mistake is kind of like sidestepping a lot of the proven methods that that work in order to do some of these really complicated methods. So you're kind of sidestepping the methods that are simple, they're to the point, and they really work, and you're going and you're overcomplicating it with a lot of these these additional tools or these different things that you're using to create your project. So, and for another example, you know, trying to use leather types that just aren't going to be fitting for the project you're working on, but you want to use it because maybe you have it in your scrap pile or you want to use it up, but it's not, you're kind of, you're not doing yourself any favors because it's not going to end up, you're going to spend a lot of time trying to make it work, trying to sidestep what you know actually will work, but instead use this piece of leather on a project that is not the right type of leather for the project, and in the end you're probably just going to be disappointed by the results. So those three things, if you can look out for those things, those are really things that you want to avoid doing if you want to get really great results. And I want everybody to get really polished results because you put a lot of time and effort into your work. You should be able to be proud of the results and want to share it with everybody. So if you're already getting those results, then that's perfect. That's all that matters. But if you're not getting those kinds of results right now, I want to invite you to a webinar that I'm doing. It's a masterclass that I'm doing next week on Monday, the 26th, and I'm also going to be opening my course publicly. So the masterclass is called Handmade, from Handmade Hobby to Polished Pro. So I'm going to be sharing the blueprint, the framework for everything that's in the paid course. So if you have been curious about what's in Mastering Traditional Leatherworking Basics, this would be a good class for you to kind of sign up. It's totally free, so you can get a little bit more information about that. I know a lot of people in this group are already kind of in an intermediate stage, so if that's you, that is fine. But if you're not, if you're someone who's super new and you're just kind of been like, you know, tinkering around with stuff, but you want to really lay a solid foundation and get really refined results, then I'm going to put the link for the masterclass in the comments below, and I would encourage you to sign up for that because it's totally free. So that's all I have. Let me just look at my notes. Yeah, that's all I have today. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to list them in the comments below. If you are someone who is a beginner leather worker, and you've recently made some mistakes and you want to share what they are to kind of give a heads up to other beginners of what mistakes not to make, feel free to leave those in the comments too. I would love to know what kinds of sort of hurdles that you've crossed and learned from. All right, guys, I'll check you later. Bye.